Hey, horror fans, yes, once again, it is me, the Horror Miser Monty G. Yes, time to do another movie review, and today we're going to review the movie of the remake of the 1990 cult classic, Jacob's Ladder. Yes. Oh boy. Now, Jacob's Ladder is a 2019 psychological horror movie. It's directed by David Rosenthal, who did The Perfect Guy and Falling Up. It was written by Jeff Bueller and Sarah Thorpe. It stars Michael Early, Jesse Williams, Nicole Brehard, I believe I pronounced her name right, and Guy Burnett. Yes, I stated before, this is a remake of the 1990 cult classic Jacob's Ladder, and we actually have an all black cast, all starting in leading roles. So, does this film actually do a good job in remaking that great movie back in 1990? Well, let's see what I have to say about Jacob's Ladder 2019. Now, after losing his brother in combat, Jacob Singer returns home from Afghanistan, only to be pulled into a mind-twisting state of paranoia. Now, when Singer finds out that his brother is actually alive, his life isn't what it seems to be. Uh-oh, trouble ahead. Now, no one should be surprised that a remake of the 1990 psychological horror film that was directed by Adrian Lyne would be fair game. Come on now, it's the land of remakes. It's what Hollywood does right now. Everything is getting a remake, reboot, or reimagining now. So now we actually have this version, this time with a black cast. We have Michael Early, Nicole Brehard, and Jesse Williams. So, can director Rosenthal and his team create the same creepy visuals that made the original such an effective horror movie and a cult classic? Well, unfortunately, they don't even come close at all. In fact, this is probably one of the worst remakes I've ever seen. Now, where Rosenthal does get some of the visuals right, the story, pacing, and acting is just all over the place. It's just doesn't go anywhere. We have a very incoherent plot. It seems like the writers didn't know what they wanted the movie to be about. Very underdeveloped characters other than Jacob, and we barely see any of the creatures except for in the final act, and that's what made the first one so good. This is what happens when you make a bad remake, a complete mess of movie that simply doesn't go anywhere whatsoever. Now, in this particular version, after coming back home from Afghanistan instead of Vietnam, trauma surgeon Jacob Singer seems to have a good life. He's happily married and he has a 3-month-old son. Nothing could be even better. Now that changes when he's confronted by a vet that tells him that his brother, who he thought was killed in Afghanistan, is very much alive. Uh-oh. He starts seeing weird shit, is confronted by hooded strangers who shoot at him, tell him he needs to keep his mouth shut, and then he actually finds that his brother is alive. He's living underneath the train station and looked like he's hooked on some type of strange drug. And as Jacob tries to figure out what's happening with his brother, he finds himself entering a crazy world where he can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. Yeah, he's in a mind trip of no return. Now, the one good thing I'll give the filmmakers credit is they don't do a shot-for-shot remake, which I hate. Now, of course, I have no problem with what the writers have done with this. They come up with this updated version. Now, they're using Afghanistan instead of Vietnam, which is a good way to update the story for a modern audience. I have no problem with that. The problem I do have is that they don't know what kind of story that they wanted to tell. As I mentioned earlier, the story is all over the place. Now, I don't know if they wanted to talk about the war, Afghanistan, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or even drug addiction, because there's no cohesive story here. This just happens. We talk about this, then all of a sudden we go here, and then all of a sudden there's no cohesive story at all. It seems to me screenwriters Jeff and Sarah didn't know. I mean, obviously I'll say this. Screenwriters Jeff and Sarah script isn't smooth enough to make any sense of the plot. It's just a disjointed story that goes everywhere, any which way. What made the original movie so good was that the plot and the story flowed together. Everything just was a nice, simple, smooth ride. Now, while I did enjoy some of the visuals, we do have some good cinematography in certain places, especially on the train station and certain parts of the film. We barely get to see any of the creatures in the movie. I mean, there's a flicker here and a flicker there. I mean, we just get a glimpse of the creatures what Jacob sees, and you would think, especially in today's technology, you would get something more better, more frightening creatures that we did back in the 1990 version. But here, they look cheap and phony. They don't even look real. I mean, it's like, what are you guys doing? And also the so-called twist. Now, I know that there was a twist At the end of Jacob's Ladder, the 1990 version, which I will not spoil here because that's what made the film so great. I'm pretty sure people who saw it know what I'm talking about. But the so-called twist that they have in this film, I saw that coming a mile away. I say about maybe within 15, 20 minutes after the film starts, I guessed it. So there's no surprise at the end of this movie as opposed with the original. And I know I'm making huge comparisons, which I really don't like to do, but unfortunately that's how bad this movie is. Now, when it comes to the acting, I do give Michael Early credit, as he seems to be the only one that try his best to make something out of this mess of a script. But even he can't do anything to make this film watchable because it's terrible. Nicole Hart from the TV show Sleepy Hollows and Jess Williams are given nothing to do here. I mean, they're just there. There's no character development for these characters other than a somewhat small backstory that we see in flashbacks between the three of them, but not enough to make the audience care anything about them at all. No, this is very disappointing because we have a black cast here, and all three are pretty good actors in their own right, but their talents is wasted in this crap fest of a script. I mean, they're really giving nothing to do other than just to stand there and recite lines. Like I said, it's just so disappointing. So, with a terrible script, poor direction, lack of scares, and a very predictable twist, this is a terrible remake and will cause the people who talk about remakes that they shouldn't make them because look how terrible this one was. I mean, it's just downright awful. Now, this isn't the worst movie I've seen before. This isn't The Apparition. This isn't The Bye-Bye Man. This is certainly no Slender Man, but this is a very terrible remake and a very terrible movie. So, the Horror Miser is going to open up his vault, and I'm going to give Jacob's Ladder 2019 1 out of my 5 gold coins. Only give it 1 out of my 5 gold coins. Yeah, this is what happens when you make a bad remake. Very, very bad remake. So, horror fans, have you seen Jacob's Ladder 2019? Did you actually enjoy this remake, or do you find it as terrible and lackluster as I did? Leave your comments down in your comment section below and tell me what you thought about Jacob's Ladder 2019. So for horror fans, that's my video for today. Hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. And once again, if this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you can come and enjoy the horror experience with me, the Horror Miser Monty G. And as always, all my social media links will be down in the description box below as well. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember, horror rules. Freddy, take us home. We're out.
From the prime time, bitch!